Hi, Rena. Welcome to 11 Questions. I want to start by asking, which Hogwarts house are you in?
Definitely Ravenclaw.
If you could pick only one book to read forever, which book would that be?
So I guess it would have to be my go-to travel book, which is Juliet by Anne Fortier. I think every time I read it, it just brings something different for me, and I notice different things all the time. So yeah, I guess that would be it.
If you could pick one fictional character you could quarantine with, who would that be?
I think it would have to be Percy Jackson because I had a big crush on him when I was in middle school, and I still kind of I don't know if you heard the like they're making a TV show on Disney Plus, which is gonna
Oh,
be
I
so much
haven't.
better than the movies. I'm so excited about it, but I like it would just be nice to hang out with him and like be around him and have him be real and like eat pizza and blue food and yeah, just be able to geek out about Greek mythology and stuff like that.
That sounds great. And if you could travel to a fictional place with Percy Jackson or without, where would you go?
I feel like it would probably be either Hogwarts or Themyscira.
Mm-hmm.
Hogwarts because it's Hogwarts, and I've always wanted to go and like just like be able to like have it be real and learn magic and stuff. And Themyscira because it's a beautiful island in the Mediterranean, and it's filled with women, and there are no men, and they just like hang out and do cool battle things, and they're like warrior princesses, and that's all I aspire to be.
Yeah, both are great options. I think I'm also conflicted between the two. Once things open up, where would you want to go?
I've always really wanted to go on a road trip through Tuscany. Well, one, I'm like a big Shakespeare nerd, and a lot of Shakespeare's plays happened in Italy, so like I would love to just like be able to travel through Italy and like get my nerd on and look at like visit all of the cities that Shakespeare had his plays in. But also just like there's so much cool history and architecture. Like the town of Siena, for example, is complete. It looks exactly like it did back in like the 1400s, and all of the architecture is still the same. And so that I would just geek out about that.
What are three things that you can't live without?
Paper because I like writing by hand, my laptop because I would like to transfer said handwriting to Word or something to be able to send out to people and also to communicate with people, and probably like food or something. I don't know. I kind of need food to
Yeah,
live.
you kind of
So
do. Kind of do. On your website, it says that you are an author and a playwright. Which of these do you enjoy more, writing books or writing plays?
I think playwriting is easier for me because it is like all mostly dialogue. When I did theater, I kind of did everything. So I was acting. I did a lot of tech work, like sound design and lighting, and I stage managed and I directed um, things as well while I was still like deep into theater. And so I kind of approach my writing of plays from an actor's or a director's perspective a lot, just because writing a play is so much more collaborative than like writing a book is, because like all as a writer, all you really have to do is set up the conversations and the setting and the dialogue. But a lot of it, what I really loved from acting was that you could take your own interpretation of it and make this story into your own. Like no two adaptations of a play are exactly the same because they have different actors and a different director, different set, all of these things. Like, so it's a lot more versatile and a lot more collaborative. And so I liked as a writer being able to give that power to an actor or director and not exactly have explicit directions as to how I would see something put on a stage, unless it was something like this has to be this way because this is how I intended it, and if you don't do it like this then you're getting the intention wrong. But the idea of watching someone else's experiences make your story better and turn it into something that they can also claim is something that I love with when it comes to playwriting. writing a book is definitely more of a solitary process. Aside from like getting beta reader feedback and editors and people who write and revise your work with you, you don't get like, you are still the person that has to decide like, this is what something looks like, this is what the character is thinking, this is why they're doing it. You kind of need to know everything that goes on in a character's head, and it's not up to someone else to interpret that unless you are explicitly writing it in a way that's like, this is for a reader to figure out. You don't get that same collaborative environment. So it's I think it's harder a little bit to write a book than it is to write a play. Not that much harder, I think, because both are very creative processes. But for me, the process of writing either a play or a book is very similar. I usually get my ideas from dialogue. So with a play, that's easy because it's like all dialogue and the dialogue drives the story. And the things that are really intriguing for me in a play is what is left unsaid and how the actor and director interpret the words that are said out loud and the actions that reflect those words or do something different, and how that looks on stage. Whereas with a book, as the author, you have to figure out the meaning of things that are said in relation to the things that are unsaid. Like, you're in control of everything that the reader gets, that your audience gets from that.
So you have written plays, you have written scripts, you've written books, you're also a law student. There's a lot going on. But if you have to pick one of your proudest achievements, which one would that be?
I think it's getting through this last month of 2020 with like, I mean, this year has been wild. But like for me, it was getting all of the deadlines and stuff done for my book and having a draft done and like being like, hey, this is an actual story. It's a book. It's like ready for more stuff to happen to it. And on top of that, I had my first law school finals. And then on top of that, we're in a pandemic. And there are also just like a bunch of things going on in my life at the same time. And like there lots of change happening all at once. And so just being able to get through finals while dealing with everything has been, I think, my proudest accomplishment so far.
Did you experience any act of kindness recently?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I would have been able to get through this month and this year, but mostly this month where everything was kind of happening without the amazing support of my friends. They have been there for me for years, but like this month was when I really needed them and they really stepped up. And just knowing that I have those types of people in my corner who are willing to support me through whatever it is that I'm going through, and are willing to be there for me and to call when I need it, especially right now, since we're not close physically, we can't see each other. It's harder to make time for people. The fact that they were able to make time for me and help me through life, honestly, it has been the nicest thing to know and to experience that sort of love.
And since we're talking about this stuff here, what's your biggest learning been?
To not take on too much, because that's the thing that I do. As you have just listed everything that I have going on, and your people are probably like, wow, she's crazy. Yeah, you're right, I am. To take on what I can and not everything that I want to, and be okay with letting some opportunities go, because if I try to do everything at once, then none of it is going to be up to my standards. And I'm just going to be even more disappointed in myself. And in that vein, also to just be nicer to myself for taking care of myself and for not taking on too much, and being okay with the fact that like I can take time out of my day that's just for me and not have to be doing 12 different things in order to feel like I'm a productive member of society or worthy of someone's attention or like to impress someone or whatever. It's just, this is what I'm doing. this is what I'm doing is enough, and that's great.
That's a really good lesson in self-care.
Yeah, 2021 self-care.
Yes. And in the end, if you were to share with us one interesting anecdote or experience from your life, what would that be?
Okay, so I guess this is a lesson in faking it till you make it. I was pre-med for 3.5 years in college. I feel like every South Asian person at some point is pre-med in college, and usually they figure it out within like the first few months that like, hey, medical school, not for me. But I was the type of person that was like, well, if I can do it, then why shouldn't I do it? And took me a while to be like, Raina, just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to, which evidently I'm still learning since I'm still taking on too much. But yeah, so while I was on the pre-med grind, I was also majoring in English, and I somehow found my way into a computational neuro lab. And I needed to know how to code. I took some neuroscience classes. I didn't know how to do any of the things that they wanted me to do, and they somehow let me go on this 2-month internship to Hamburg, Germany. And I was terrified for most of the 2 months that someone would realize that I had no idea what I was doing, which was accurate because I had no idea what I was doing. And they would be like, oh, this is a mistake. You need to go home. And so I just learned how to code badly on the job. And I ended up presenting the research I was working on at a European neuroscience conference in Berlin that year. And I got to travel and see all of these cool places and kind of like be on my own in Europe. And I had an amazing experience and like got to do all these cool things because I decided that to kind of like really leap out of what I was comfortable with and just be like, hey, you know what? You're here now, you're gonna figure it out. You wanted this grand European summer, and this is the you're going to have to get it. It worked out. I survived. People thought I kind of knew what I was doing. It was a really cool experience, and being able to be okay with not knowing what was going on pretty much at all times. It's been my favorite summer so far, I think. And it was free because it was all on a grant.
Well, thank you, Rena, for sharing that with us.